Hi, everybody. I am so excited to be on here with you today. It's an amazing opportunity that I've been having myself, my family, to pour into this next arena of our lives. And I want to take a moment of your time and dive into the subject of leadership. Not just leadership, but really to talk about what it means to go from leadership to kingship. You know, every leader that I know, every person of consequence does not just merely become a leader, but they are moving from a aspect of leadership into an aspect of kingship. And we're going to dive into that. We're going to give a little bit of time as people start to jump on, but I want you to just be prepared to receive. I believe that this has been put on my heart, not just because it's an area that I've dedicated a lot of my time to, but really it's an area that God's put on my heart to empower me and to ask me to cultivate leadership inside of other people. And so if you know anybody on your page or anybody in your area of influence, I want you to share. This is going to be super important. I believe that this is, and it's not about me, but I believe that this message, this call to leadership, true leadership and kingship is actually something that this world needs right now. We are in a position that we've never been in before. We're in a position that we are placed in this time frame and this specific arena and this specific area of life that the world needs leaders like never before. It doesn't just need leaders, but it needs people of consequence, people that are going to take things, grow them, grow people, and place them into areas that are super important. And so I want you to, even right now, as you're getting adjusted, as you're getting ready, this is also going to be stuck on the Facebook page as well as on my YouTube channel. So if you have not subscribed, it's You're Worth It Now. I'll go ahead and put it in the comments later, a link to it. You can actually go and find it in the Facebook profile that I have for You're Worth It Coaching and Consulting. And surprise, surprise, we actually just launched another page of it called You're Worth It Ministries. So go on, take a look, subscribe, find what kind of things you might be receiving. But I believe that this is a message. This is something that we should all take, and you should take it to the mountaintops because you need people that are your leaders to even hear this. You need yourself to hear it. You need your children to hear it. This is not something that is generational limited. This is cross-generational, cross-denominational, cultural. So this needs to be heard in every facet. I believe that there's going to be government officials. There's going to be people in your cities, in your workplaces, in our medical fields, in our education system, in our churches. Oh my gosh, in our churches, we need it to get this leadership concept, and we cannot afford in this season, in this time, to have bad leadership. So as we dive in, like I said, this is going from leadership to kingship. But very specifically is you can actually get into this arena of leadership and really fall, not necessarily fall to your death, but you can fall and bring people to a place where they're not growing. And so I want to leave you with this first statement. And you can write it down. I love people getting interactive on the chats. It's good because something you might hear, if somebody else writes it or chats about it, they might have grasped a different revelation or understanding on it that might speak more of your language. And so don't hesitate to share, right? So the first point I want to give you as we talk about this is you should desire not to just be a good performer, but to be a great leader. We have so many people that are really good at being good performers. They're good at being on the stage. They're good at being in large groups of people. They love it. Not only are they good at it, but they thrive to be in those atmospheres. But the world is not needing more performers. The world is needing better leaders. It's needing leaders to care so much about people. So one of the aspects of this is what happens, I believe, is that there are far too many people trying to collect followers because their performance or their God-given abilities have placed them in that area, but they have not been responsible enough to create leaders. So as a leader, I want you to hear this. Your job is to create other leaders. It's not to manage an area. If you were to manage things, that means to protect them. That means to guard them, to hold them, to make sure that it looks the same way all the time. But you're called to lead. And really what leading means is to not just collect people that are catching your eyesight, but it means to actually step out of you and into something more. So you have to have a desire. You have to have a desire deep inside of you to have more than just being a good performer. You got to get out of your shell and you got to start to embrace, engage, and encounter people so that they can become good leaders themselves. You know, when I ask somebody, when they talk to me about, where have you been in your leadership role? When I have these talks with people, the question I ask them, if they've been a leader and I'm trying to find out where they're at, is I don't ask them, have you hit your numbers? If they're in a sales field. If they're in a government, I don't ask you, how many constituents have you come into agreement with you? I don't ask them in the medical field, how many people have you saved? What I ask people is, how many people have you promoted? How many people have you got to a place where they have been led to the next phase in their life? You have to stretch beyond yourself. Don't worry about just collecting followers. Because you know what you do now is you collect the followers, you collect the people, the subordinates, the people that are responding to you, to looking to your guidance. But now they're not just looking to you, now they're watching and they will duplicate what you practiced. Yeah. So I'm going to ask you this question, and I think it's very important. Why is having kingship in your area? When I say area, that means your area of influence, your sphere of influence, the business you might have, the area you might be in charge of, your church leader, a pastor, whatever it is. What in that area, why is having kingship in your area more important than just being a leader? Why is this more important? I'm going to tell you why. And you can answer some of those questions as well, but kings are focused on using their reign and their authority to influence, engage, and empower them to leadership. So this is why becoming a king in your sphere of influence or your arena or your area or what you're called to or your business or your church, why is it important that you go from leadership to kingship? Is because you have to get so focused on using your authority, your reign, your accessibility, your influence to engage and to empower people to leadership. If you don't have a direction in which you want to take a follower, a subordinate, somebody under you to this place, you are not being a leader. I know that sounds mean. I'm not trying to be harsh, but I really want you to use this time as a reflection. Am I taking somebody from one place to the next place? Am I actually cultivating inside of them true leadership? True leadership. Kingship is never going to go away. In Bible times, I think kings or kingship is mentioned over 2,500 times in the Old Testament. Wow. It's a lot. And another like 275 times in the New Testament. But I love one of the last books in the Old Testament is Malachi. And Malachi, as a prophet, is writing these declarations. He's giving this statement, pretty much a statement to leaders. And in Malachi chapter 3, verse 6, he says this true statement. He says, I, the Lord, do not change. So you, the descendants of Jacob, are not destroyed. If kingship was such a valuable aspect of God's identity, God's deity, and God's duty, then don't you think if it was important to them, then in the Old Testament, it's important in the New Testament, it should be important in your lives today. Because he is not a God that changed. He is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And so I want you to just think about that. If kingship was important then, and they didn't have a lot of the terms that they have now for kings, let's just translate that real quick. And women, I'm not neglecting you by hearing the word kings. A king in the ideology that I want you to understand is not female or male. It's about authority and reign. So when you hear me say kings, just because I didn't say queens does not seclude you, does not keep you away, because there are kings that are women. There are women that are bosses out there today that are creating amazing things that are functioning better than a lot of men are because they understand the principle of people. And so there are an importance. If it was so important in the Bible that he talked about kings, kingship, kingdoms, it is just as important today. So I want you to start to shift gears just for a second to start to think about what it is in a king that makes him important. Well, I want you to talk about this. Let's take to the root of something or to the beginning of something to get that. You know, the root, the Hebrew and the Greek word for king or kingship is the word in Hebrew. It's melech. The word melech, it's an awesome definition in Greek because it's in its original meaning. And it means this. It means to delegate or to transfer to a person who holds supreme authority or rule over a nation or a territory. This is important. You got to catch this because it's not just about them having rule and reign and the ability to change things or to move people or to dominate. You notice it doesn't say anything about dominating in there. It actually says to designate, to transfer to a person's supreme authority over a nation, over a city, or over a territory. So right now, every person listening right now is a leader to some capacity. Every person hearing this has a territory. You know the word territory. This just means a designated area in which you are in charge of. So some of you, as simple as it can be, your territory is your home. Outside of that, your territory is your business, the thing you lead, the thing you work in. It's a government space. It's a political arena. It's a medical field. It's an arts and entertainment arena. The music you make. As a church, it's a pastor. The church you congregate in. As a leader inside of a church, it's the thing you're in charge of. You have a territory. And because of that definition, you have a kingship. You have a king rights in that area. And so I want to break this down a little bit because you have to understand where things are really kind of where they involve and where we can kind of get distorted. Because I'm going to tell you this, the world will always lead you to want to dominate or to grasp a level of understanding or to try to get you to move to an area, a situation, a circumstance that is to dominate, to rule, and to influence on your own. And so it's important that we capture this right now to understand what the world is trying to demand you to do. They're trying to get you. And I want to just start out by being very transparent. When I started as a leader for the first time, I was horrible at it. I would have gave myself the title of worst leader ever. You want to know why? Because I didn't create or I didn't grasp supreme authority. I didn't take it to a place where I could really understand what was needed, what was desired, what was the important thing in this moment. It was so important to get people to hear me, but really not get people to be led by me. And you got to hear this. So what I did is I asked leaders around me that I felt intimidated by. Now that was the root of me trying to find out what it was to be a good leader. So I thought you had to be intimidated by them. And so I asked the leader intimidated, and you know what they said? They said, "Oh, Joey, this is my advice to you. You got to come in every day with a certain different perspective. So one day I want you to come in, be nice to everybody, ask them what you can do. And the next day I want you to change your attitude. I want you to come in, be quiet, be cold, be kind of like just distant. Get them questioning, what Joey am I getting today, so that they continue to be consistent and on their heels." And so I did that, and I found out that people hated me. Surprise, surprise, right? They hated me because I didn't pour into them what was supposed to be poured into them. They weren't getting a consistent leader. They were getting a bipolar leader. They were getting somebody that they never knew what to do. And so just because they were on their heels or on their toes in trying to make sure that they didn't make me angry, instead what they did is that they shrunk back, and it limited their abilities. And all I got was their fear. So I was horrible at it. I think I had several people quit. Like the first leadership role I was given, I think I was like something like 6 people left me in a year. And I was like, man, why are all these people leaving? And they're like going, disappearing. And one person had enough bravery to tell me, well, Joey, most of them, at least 3 out of the 6 I know left because they said they never knew what Joey they were getting. Wow. That was hard to hear. What Joey was I getting? What person was I getting? What individual was I getting in that moment? And that's a hard thing a pill to swallow. So I got to dig deeper, to inflect, to reflect on myself, and to try to inspect, what did God say? I knew that I had God in my life. I knew that that was a source. I would read my word, but why didn't I pull leadership from there? And so what I found was this, is that leadership and servantship are synonymous. Leadership and servantship are synonymous. That just means they're the same. So to be a great servant is also to be a great leader. And to be a great leader is also to be a great servant. To get this picture, you have to turn the organizational chart upside down. We're all used to seeing these org charts, right? You probably have them in your church, your work, your institution, wherever you're from. And on top is that you have the head honcho, you have the leader, the alpha, you have the CEO, you have the business owner, the president, whatever it is. And down below that are all of their direct reports, all their subordinates. And all the way at the bottom are the people that they value the less or have the less decision-making ability, but they lead majority of their business. And we've been told, hey, this is what I have to do to serve the person above me and above them and above them. And then the person on top is the person that gets ultimately served. That may be what it looks like, but I want to challenge you as a leader that your job is to turn that org chart upside down. And it's really the people that are not serving you, but it's now, as a leader, I want you to change your language. It's not the people that are serving you or supporting you. Now it's the people that you are serving. You are now supporting and serving and caring for the people that you're responsible to. So now they're not your subordinates as much. That might be what they are by definition, but by theory, by ideology, they are now the people who take your business, your idea, your leadership, your department to the place that it needs to go. So your job is to serve them. You got to serve them. And this takes me to what leadership is. So if you have something to write with, I'm going to put it on here, but really true leadership is birthed from care, not dominance. True leadership is birthed from care, not dominance. You know what dominance means? Dominance means to overcome, to overpower, to overwhelm to the point of submission. You have been lied to, friends. You have been lied to as a leader, and you have been lied to as a person that is led. That your job is just to be in this fearful submission. Your job is to own who you are, to take the responsibilities that you were given, the tasks that you were given, but you were caused and called to push them forward. But as a leader, it is not your job to overpower them, overwhelm them, and overcome them to the point of submission. I want you to hear this. If you are getting submission or people being subordinate or caring that are following you, and they're just listening to every word you do and doing what you're doing, but they're doing it because you dominated over them, it will not last. Fear-driven leadership it produces some immediate response, but it is not sustainable because the physicality that in your body, the things that you respond to in fear challenge you and hurt you in the long run. So people get tired of being dominated. So submission is not when somebody is dominated over. Submission is submitting to a mission. And so true leadership is not birthed from dominance, it's birthed from care. So if dominance means to overcome, overpower, overwhelm to the point of submission, care means to receive, to interact with the person with the mindset. Capture this is important. With the mindset that there is something so valuable inside of them that the world needs. This is a whole different issue. I have another leadership teaching specifically on called finesse, leadership finesse. But care is like finesse. It's like handling things that are very valuable with care, with things that as you're holding it, you're carrying it to the next place, but you're carrying it with such carefulness as if you do not want to break, fracture, or harm that thing of value. So if you want to find out if I've really been a great leader, the question is, have you been a caring one? Have you interacted with people with the mindset that there is something so valuable inside of them that I want to carry them forward or to the next place, knowing that what they have inside of them, somebody else needs? That's leadership. How many of you would say this? That you either are a leader or want to be a leader at some capacity. Right into me right now. I want to see some of your dialogue in regards to what it means to you, and other people will see it. If you either feel like you are a leader at some capacity, you want to be a leader at some capacity in some arena of life, I want you to just write those notes down in there. Just start to fill them in, and really the goal is that you write them down so you can see them. But I want to tell you this, everybody's a leader of themselves. Everybody has to lead themselves at some capacity. So what have you provided even in your own life with care? Something that you've carried in your own life that you said, I'm going to take this because there's something so valuable in me. I'm not going to beat myself up all the time. I'm not going to wound myself. I'm not going to dominate by comparing to other people. Comparison is the thief of growth. Comparison is the thief of growth. So if you're self-leading, you have to care for yourself so much that you're not going to compare to other people. You have to find out internally, what do I have that the world needs? And then I need to move it forward with care. That's self-leadership of providing care in it. If you are, I want you to hear this, you're all leaders. You are all leaders. Every single one of you is a leader. You're a leader to someone. There are always two eyes at least watching you, that one person. So sometimes they're as small as being in your home, and sometimes they're as large as being in departments and buildings and even running your own business. There are eyes watching everything you do. So that means that you're a leader. Leadership has more to do with serving who you look up to with the best. Now this is it. Okay, I want to capture this and say it right to you. Leadership is about serving people your best instead of giving them orders to achieve excellence. Now I get this. Some of you are going to say on there, well, my job is to lead people and to grow my business and to make sure that they hit numbers. I get all that. That is proper training. That is execution. And those are all important. And I'm not dismantling those. But your job as a leader to that individual person is to serve them by giving them your best, by serving them with your best, instead of just giving orders in order to achieve excellence that will be warranted back to you. Now, how does this translate? Guess what? All of you give best to the next big thing. Maybe you're a business owner, or maybe you're a CEO or a leader of some capacity. You'll give your best to the board meeting. You'll give your best if you're a pastor and you're preaching out to the thousands in the congregation. You give your best if you're trying to be a teacher and you're teaching other teachers. But here's the other thing. Are you giving your best to the person that you think is the least? Are you giving your best to the person that's serving your vision? Are you giving your best to the person that's submitting to your mission? Are you giving your best to the people that you are called to? You should be giving just as much of your best to the person on the bottom of your org chart as you are to the people that you're trying to get accolades from, being noticed by, and delivering your top performance. Great job. We have to get our best to those people that are with us right there in the midst of it. True leadership does not push people out of the way to get ahead, and it doesn't take all the credit. Man, I know everybody here has experienced this at some level. Somebody's taking credit for something you've done. Isn't it the worst feeling in the world? Isn't it like the worst thing that you can imagine is when you have worked hard to achieve something and somebody just ripped the credit out of your hand? They just took it away from you. Well, as a leader, I want you to just take a reflection moment. When do I do that? Are there moments in my life that I do that? Is there times that I've taken credit or I've received the accolades without appointing where the fruit of that labor came from? It's our job to not push people out of the way to take the credit so that we can continue to grow as our people stay where they've always been. The gauge of true leadership is not how many more followers and people have you gained, but true leadership is how many people have you pulled up with you? How many people have you raised up with you? How many people have you challenged to get yourself to the next place? How many people have you done this with? I'm asking you this question because I want you to ask yourself, how many people have you taken to the next step of life? It's your job. It's your job to take them there. True leadership also finds a way to encourage and bless people. I love it in Proverbs. It talks about it in Proverbs 29:2. And it says this, it says, when the righteous increase, the people rejoice. But when the wicked rule, the people groan. You want to find out a good way of, are you being a good leader or not? When you're around, do people groan? When you're around and you leave the room, is the most rejoiceful place that they are? Or when you enter the room? The righteous person, when he reigns, he brings increase and the people rejoice. That means it's a pleasure to have you around. I'm not saying everybody that you lead will like you, but everybody you lead should see increase brought into their lives because you were a good leader. And inside of them, they can rejoice. That just means to be rejoiceful, to see the joyfulness and to reconsider it, to consider it a reality. So do they consider the reality of the increase that you brought them to be good? That's what I want you to share. I want you to hear that because it's important. And I'm going to close out with this statement and talk about this, but I want to leave some time for Q&A. I made this short because I wanted to give you an opportunity to share some of your questions that you might have about leadership or how to get there. I didn't write every answer out in this guide. I just wanted to pique your interest. I wanted to get you to this certain level. Have you built your bench? Have you built your bench? If you're a leader of a department or a business and a corporation, a medical field, anything, a church, by golly, a church, have you built your bench? That means have you put people in a position close to you, around you, so that they can grow? Not just grow, but have you give them an opportunity to grow? Have you looked at them, gazed to them, realized the gold inside of them, and given them an opportunity to be raised up? This is called to be successor focused. I need you guys to be successor focused. Kingship is to be successor focused. A king, man, they love to reign because they're looking down at their son or their daughter or whoever is in their reign, and they're like, man, I need to show up well. I need to take care of them. I need to pour wisdom into them. I need to give them opportunities. I need to develop my bench because I know that my successor needs to be better than me. So are you successor focused? Or are you so worried about being overshadowed that the fear and insecurity that lies inside of you has not focused you on developing your bench? Can I give you just a little key to whether this is the reality? When you have to go on vacation, or when you leave, or when you're out of your office, your business, your medical field, your government office, and when you leave, is there such anxiety around you because you haven't empowered people? Do you have to call somebody from the outside into your world that is like you, but they're not from within your leading in your group of people to do what you do because you don't trust who you have? When you're successor focused, you're giving them what you have with the ideology and the goal of them doing better than you. I remember one time it was asked of me to give some training and develop material that my wife and I created and spent hours and hours pouring our life into. And they said, we want you to give all that material to us so that we can make sure that it's if you ever leave or you're gone, that things are taken care of. And as I was preparing it, I just started doing it immediately because my ideology on leadership is I always want to be transparent. And I always want to be able to include people. And I always want it to function just as good when I'm not there as it is when I'm there. If anything, I want it to be better when I'm promoted, when I move, when I transition. And so I shared it with a friend, and I had a friend that told me this, good friend of mine, but they just said, hey, Joey, I would be careful. That's your property, man. Why are you giving away your material, yours and your wife's material? Why are you giving away your hard work? Why are you giving away your secrets? And I said, number one, they're not mine. God's given them to me. God's empowered me. God's developed me. God's given me these attributes. So why would I keep them? And this is the understanding of what a true leader that transitions from leadership to kingship gets. Is I have enough trust that if I give everything I have away, to that next person, to my bench and to my successor, what happens is I have the ability to grow more. I have the ability to increase because I made room for more. Maybe the reason why you have not grown as a leader, why you have not promoted, why you have not moved to where you want to be, maybe has less to do with people not focusing on you and more to do with what have you passed down of yours to others. Because you're going to hit a capacity and you want to grow in your ability. So you have to give out so you can receive more. I know that that's hard. And I know that there's this thing called job security. But you know the greatest job security is to move from kingdom to kingdom. Solomon in the Bible was known to be the richest man to ever live then and now today. He was the greatest king to build the most beautiful temples, consumed kingdoms, and took on territory. But what happened is in the beginning of his reign, he started to conquer, take conquest, and get spoils from those lands. And when he got them, at first he started to develop leaders in areas and giving things to them and partitioning them away. But as he started to grow, he took his eyes off of the leadership and the legacy of what he needs to develop for the future and for the kingdom, that he became so self-focused that he started to claim things for himself. He started to hoard people, places, and things. He started to not be successor focused and instead be wealth focused. And that was the beginning of the end. He ended worse than he should have. My challenge to you and what this world needs is not another Solomon, not another collector of people, places, and things, not another person that's a great performer, not another person that builds empires. What the world needs is legacy livers. People that are building legacy. People that are building people. People that are leading them with care. Developing people with the goal to be successor focused. Because that's what kingship is about. You know, I want to challenge you outside of yourself for a minute. To say, what can I do to be a better leader today? What can I do to grow? What can I do to move to this next level? What can I do to build my bench? Start to request from yourself better, more from you, down to the people that are looking to you for leadership. I want you to be so successor focused that life can't help but to promote you. God promotes not those who did it the best. He promotes those who brought the best out of people. My email's on here. If you have any Q&A right now, I'd love to stay connected with you. By the way, my name is Joey Salinas. My name's on there. My wife and I run You're Worth It Coaching and Consulting and You're Worth It Ministries. In the coaching and consulting, I love to work with business owners, leaders, and individuals that are just trying to grow. If you feel like you need to grow, you don't know what it is, I will say this: everybody needs a coach. Everybody needs a coach. Everybody needs somebody to pull the best out of them. I want to be that person for you. If you need help in that arena, I'm here to help you. My email's down below. You can attach through Facebook and Instagram. Also follow the YouTube channel, whatever it is that you're needed. I have an amazing opportunity coming up right now. I did this business coaching with I have 11. Capacity was 10, but some people came in and I didn't want to say no to them. And so I allowed 11 in this one. We have it every Thursday night at 6 p.m. We're just finished our third week and they are growing exponentially. It's amazing to see the fruit of their labor. But by popular demand, I brought back another one. I only have 2 spots filled on it, but it's going to be starting this coming Tuesday. So if you, Tuesday, which is, I believe is the, just going to look at my calendar, I believe it's the 17th at 6 p.m. So starting now, go for 4 weeks. It's about 65% off of what I normally charge for coaching. So it's a good way to get a discounted, way to kind of get this going for yourself. I also offer a personal group coaching, innovative coaching, and individual packages. look out for some of our ministry stuff. We just feel, as we moved in this business, God also wants us to never stop being ministers. And so my wife and I have this desire in our heart to get people to where they've never been and to encourage them and to lift them up. So I'm open to answering any questions. Please share this video. I want you to share it because I believe it's important. I believe it's important that this message gets shared to leaders all around. If they just grasp one aspect from it, or you grab one aspect from today, you're going to be a better leader than you've ever been. So I'm opening it up. Just go ahead and type your questions in here. If you don't have any, I'll wait about 5 minutes to see if anybody has any. But as I'm doing that, I'll just share a little bit more on what's been happening with our journey. And man, it's been amazing. I haven't got to share this in a while, but my wife and I are excited. God spoke to us. We taught for a long time, School of Ministry. We also pastored our own church out in Surprise. We've been youth pastors for a long period of time. I've worked in corporate America. I'm on a board of a business, and I've had an opportunity to be working with and had the opportunity to grow in a lot of arenas. And recently, a change in what I do for a living came up from God. God just spoke to my wife and I both at different moments and different times, individually first and then together. But God spoke to me one time in the middle of doing ministry school. God spoke to me and said, "Hey, Joey, this is your last block." And at the school. And I had no job set up, had no source of income ready to come in. I had no idea. And I don't do that. If you were to know me as an individual, as a friend, my wife, family know this, is that I do not do that. I am not a person that just makes blind decisions without having some kind of, plan. And so I just was obedient, just like we teach people. Be obedient to God's voice and pray and come into agreement. And so my wife and I prayed after I heard the Lord's voice in it, and we came into agreement, and we're here. And it's been fun. It's been exciting. And so I can't wait to share. I hope you can participate with something in the You're Worth It family, meanwhile. But I don't know if I have any questions on here. I'm getting fed my questions. So if there's any questions you have, please let me know. I want to be able to answer these the best that I can. Just a good moment to see it. Okay, here we go. I got one question coming in here. What exactly would it look like to be more of a servant leader versus simply a dominant leader? Great question, Edgar. To be a servant leader is actually the difference there is your shift in your focus. So to be a dominating leader means to focus on the things you're getting from that person. And you don't care about the means in which you get that performance from them. A servant leader means I'm showing up to care for that person, to validate them as an individual, and to pull value out of them. And as a response to being a servant leader, performance comes too. I've incorporated this. I was 11 years at GCU. My last 6 years at GCU as a leader, I incorporated solely servant leadership. And I saw an increase in my results because of it. And I saw a promotion of people. I remember through, as I was leading some people, I saw through my tenure there in 11 years, I promoted 22 people to management, 12 people to being directors, and 2 people to vice presidents. Those positions all surpassed my position, which was a manager. Servant leadership is about valuing and caring for the person that they have because there's something inside of them that's going to go beyond you. So hopefully that answered that question. Anybody else? I'm just kind of scanning through some of these questions here. Let's see. All right. I don't think I see any more questions. So I am so glad you joined me. I'm hoping to be doing this maybe once every couple of weeks. And my wife and I are going to be jumping on here and doing some stuff together. And you'll hear from her as well. Man, she's got some amazing things on her heart. She is one of the best, most caring people I know. I just want to honor her, man. My wife is a gem. And so if you receive from her, I believe you've received straight from the heart of God. So as you see stuff coming forward, our goal is to not to develop more followers. Our goal through this ministry, through our business, is to empower people to a place that they've never been. Oh, another question came in. Can you also get to the idea that servant leadership does not mean weak person? Someone that gets walked all over. Absolutely. So here's an awesome thing. I love that question. Thanks, Dan. The question was, the idea of a servant leader does not mean a weak leader. Absolutely not. A servant leader is a meek leader. Meekness is subdued strength. So it means that you're willing to take the necessity of accomplishing something in that person, and you're willing to check your strengths and your power and your dominance in order to get the best out of them in the process. Don't ever take somebody's meekness as weakness. A servant leader is always meek, but they're never weak. And as a leader that's a servant leader, if you feel like you're getting walked on, that has nothing to do with you being a servant leader. That has something to do with your not valuing yourself to speak up for yourself. You can speak up for yourself. Sometimes the most holy and best leadership answer is no. Sometimes you got to tell people no. Sometimes you got to tell people that you can't. And I want to share this. If you ever got to do disciplinary things as a leader or manager at some capacity, that's a necessity. And just because you have to work through something that they didn't do well and do correction, that actually can be done out of care, not out of dominance. You can sit them down, not to dominate, to overwhelm them, and to get change out of them because you're driving fear. But it's because you're having a conversation because you want them to notice what they've done and that there is more inside of them, and coming alongside of them to develop that is the key. All right. Question. All right, cool. Now I'm getting questions. I love this. Questions are my favorite, by the way. What do you think it means when you have served in leadership in an area for 12 years and it appears no promotion? So 2 things. I'm going to give you an internal question to ask yourself. Number 1 question I want you to ask yourself, is that what your goal was? Is promotion in that area what your goal was? Or was your goal in that area to leave an impact? And I'm not saying there's a wrong answer, because some people do have the goal of being promoted because they feel called to an area. The other question is, have you talked to your leaders about your desire, your cares, your aspirations for leadership? Sometimes there's leaders that just, you've never talked about it. So not saying because they're not good leaders, but maybe because they have not had that conversation with you. Maybe they haven't seen your, hey, asking for more to do kind of area, your request to be elevated or to gain more responsibilities. So have that conversation if you haven't, and ask yourself, what is your desire in that role? And I believe you'll get to that place. Hopefully that answered that question. Question, great leaders tend to pour out a lot. How can leaders stay filled in the midst of leading? Wow. Now you guys are going great. I love that. How do you make, how do you pour out, how do you stay filled? Well, number 1, you have to provide self-care. Self-care is so important as a leader because you do pull from yourself. And if you are not just a servant leader, but if you are a leader, like a king leader, giving and building your bench and pouring out what you have to raise others up, you do need some self-care. So you need to schedule, hear this, you need to schedule time away and time aside for you to have you time. Not only, and you have to remember, the leadership that you provide in other arenas is not greater than the leadership that you provide to yourself and to your family. So if you've given there and not filled up in here, then you will run on empty and not have anything more to give there. Burnout does not have to happen. I want you to hear that. Burnout in leadership does not have to happen. Burnout happens because you've required so much from yourself without giving yourself a moment to refill. A car cannot run on a full tank and burn its fuel and not stop at a gas station. But gas doesn't be filled up on the road. It gets filled up when you stop. So you have to stop, be intentional, and schedule it. Just seeing here. Question. Let me see. I'm trying to go through here. All right. Here's another one on here. Great leaders. Okay. How do we make a decision on faith with no other plan? Well, number one, I highly recommend that when God speaks to you, stewardship is the next component of faith. So faith has two aspects. Faith has this, I know that God spoke to me component. And the other aspect of faith is stewardship of what God spoke to you. So although Judy and I did not have a plan of how we were going to, we didn't have something set up with income, immediately when God spoke to me, we started to discuss and to create a plan and process to steward what God spoke to us so that we don't end up with no income. So immediately we went to work. I talked to my business. If you want this is a big component in our business group coaching. Week 3, we talk about going from idea to action. So that's a faith component. Going from faith to idea is understanding both aspects of faith. What God spoke to you and knowing he's true to it. And the other aspect of stewardship. Stewardship means to put to work what you heard. So hopefully that's helpful. Another question that came in. I just became a real estate wealth manager and I am the only employee of my own business. How can some of these amazing viewpoints be applied to my situation? Great question. Thank you, Adam, for sharing that. The way that they can be applied best to your situation is that now the people that you're leading is the people that are your customers and clients. And so you want to provide leadership and direction, because leadership is just direction. We talked about it in the beginning, so it's direction. So you're going to apply direction with them, not in a way to just gain the income and ability to earn. That is a repercussion of caring for them. So you have to care by directionally leading them in the best area for themselves with the goal of them getting the most out of themselves. And the natural repercussion of caring for a client is developing wealth for yourself as well. So hopefully that's helpful. All right. I hope that this answered. Looks like I got through all the answers here. Thank you guys for tuning in. This means the world to me. I love what we're doing, and it is so fun to work with my wife again and to do these things. So stay tuned, stay alive and willing, and stay engaged. We offer a lot of stuff that's free because we charge because we make an income. We have to make an income, right, to provide for my family. But really, our goal is to grow people and to get you to where you've never been before. And sometimes it's coaching you there. Sometimes it's consulting you there. Sometimes it's just encouraging you. And so our biggest goal is to anybody that encounters us, encounters our ministry or encounters our business, is that they become the best of them that they've ever been. And so we would love to help you with that, partner with you in that area. So thank you guys for listening, for tuning in. Please share. If you have not become a partner in our pages, please do so. Thank you guys so much. So glad that you're on here. God bless you. Have an amazing week.